So Mustakim's got a pretty wild project on his hands today. A customer came to him with this massive old industrial water tank, and the ask? Turn it into a boat, like an actual working boat. And honestly, the moment he starts cutting into it, you realize just how much can go wrong at every single step. Before anything else, he goes over the whole tank looking for weak spots. And sure enough, there are some cracks. Nothing catastrophic, but enough that he can't just ignore them. So he cuts out the damaged sections first, then starts trimming the rest down by hand, slowly turning this big ugly tank into flat panels he can actually work with. Now here's something cool. These tanks are made from this really tough plastic called high-density polyethylene. It's the kind of material that just doesn't quit. It handles impact, shrugs off chemicals, barely absorbs any water. Even if it's been sitting outside for years baking in the sun, it still holds up. That's exactly why people repurpose these things for boats and construction projects. Next up, he starts building the wooden ribs, the pieces that actually give the boat its shape. Each one is a slightly different size, which is how you get that gradual curve from the wide middle down to the narrower front and back. That shallow V shape at the bottom isn't just for looks. It's what keeps the boat balanced and stable out on the water. And here's the thing with builds like this, every measurement has to be right. The whole boat's stability comes down to how well the weight and buoyancy are balanced across the frame. One small mistake and the boat starts rolling or tipping the moment it hits the water with any load on it. That's why simple, clean geometry works so well for these handmade pontoon-style boats. It spreads the stress evenly and keeps everything stable. Before he locks anything together, he goes around reinforcing every single joint. And I mean every one. He's cutting strips of old rubber from inner tires and laying them along all the edges and screw points, basically makeshift sealing gaskets. It doesn't look fancy, but that's not the point. Even the tiniest gap becomes a leak, and once water finds a way in, it doesn't stop. So he adds layer after layer of rubber before any plastic piece goes on top. He's basically trying to outsmart any future failure before it even gets a chance to happen. Then comes the marking and cutting. He draws out every line carefully, checks everything multiple times before the blade ever touches the material. Because once you cut, that's it. There's no fixing it. The side sections get the same treatment, every line traced out slow and deliberate. Pipes go in between the wooden ribs to hold them together so nothing can shift or flex later on. Once they're aligned, epoxy goes on, thick and intentional, and everything gets locked into place as it cures. Then the bottom of the hull gets mounted, and you can immediately feel the whole thing tightening up. Even the slightest misalignment at this stage would throw the entire build off, so he holds it, adjusts it, checks it again until it's sitting exactly right. Here's something I really like about the way he works. Nothing gets thrown away. All the plastic shavings and drilling waste get collected and used for plastic welding. He melts it down and fuses it right back into the structure, layer by layer, filling in any gaps. Then wooden angle bars go along all the edges, not just to make it look clean, but to protect those welded seams from impacts and flexing that could crack them later. And this is where it's worth stopping for a second, because building a DIY boat isn't just about making something float. If it were that simple, you could throw a door in the water and call it a boat. You've got to get buoyancy, waterproofing, and weight distribution all working together at the same time. And the scary part? Most mistakes don't show up until you're already on the water. The basic rule is this: the boat has to displace enough water to carry everything on it. Not just the hull itself, but passengers, gear, the motor, fuel, all of it. The moment that balance tips the wrong way, water gets real unforgiving real fast. So Mustakim mixes up 2-part rigid polyurethane foam and pours it into the hull before the chemical reaction kicks in. And when it starts expanding, man, it's something to watch. It starts slow, then suddenly just takes off, pushing through the structure, crawling into every gap and corner that you couldn't possibly reach by hand. As it expands, it heats up and then slowly hardens into this dense solid core, locking itself into the whole structure from the inside out. And once it starts, it doesn't stop until every single space is taken. What's happening in there is called progressive fill pressure. The foam just keeps going until every internal void is completely packed. And once it's cured, the foam isn't just sitting there passively. It's actively pressing everything together from the inside, holding the whole structure tight and reinforcing the shape of the hull. This is why polyurethane foam is used everywhere in buoyancy systems. Once it sets, it forms this closed cell structure, tiny sealed air pockets locked inside rigid walls. Super light, water resistant, holds its shape under pressure. But the real bonus isn't even the flotation. It's that as it hardens, it ties all the internal pieces together and turns the whole frame into one stiff, reinforced body. One thing people get wrong about flotation foam: it doesn't make the boat float higher. The hull does the floating. What the foam actually does is save you when things go wrong. If the hull gets damaged or water starts coming in, the foam fills up all those spaces that would otherwise flood and sink the boat completely. It slows the whole thing down, keeps enough volume trapped to hold it at the surface. That's what people mean when they say unsinkable. Doesn't mean it never fails. It means it won't go all the way down when it does. At the back, he builds up a transom reinforcement pad, extra thickness right where the outboard motor is going to sit. That area takes the full weight and stress of the motor, so it absolutely has to be solid. Inside, marine-grade plywood goes in as a lining layer. Basically an internal skin that seals the surfaces, adds stiffness, and ties the whole frame together into something more rigid and resistant to movement over time. Then he goes back in with another round of foam, pouring it into every accessible cavity to make sure nothing gets left hollow. You know it's fully packed when foam starts overflowing out of the openings. That's your sign that every hidden void inside has been completely filled. Then it's time to fair the surface, which is just a fancy word for sanding everything smooth so there are no bumps or sharp edges disrupting how the hull moves through water. Now, the moment you add a canopy frame on top, the whole dynamic of the boat changes. Anything above deck is topside weight, and that weight affects how the boat rolls, how it sits, and how stable it stays when conditions get rough. After washing and drying, the surface gets finished in 3 layers. Epoxy coating first to seal everything against moisture, then a primer layer for proper paint adhesion, and finally marine-grade paint to handle water, sun, and everything else the boat's going to face out there. Seating gets planned out carefully too, because where people sit actually affects how the boat sits in the water. Every passenger is live load, and that load needs to stay centered, not too far forward, not too far back, and balanced side to side. The weight has to run along the center line of the boat, and there still needs to be enough room for people to move around without throwing the whole balance off. Then the canopy goes on, and every angle of that metal frame gets measured carefully before the fabric patterns are even cut. A small mismatch anywhere shows up the moment the fabric goes under tension, so nothing here gets guessed. Extra material is always added to the pattern, so it can be pulled tight and seated properly during installation. That little bit of allowance is what makes the difference between a canopy that sits clean and one that looks sloppy. The fabric itself has to handle sun, rain, and wind long-term without falling apart, which is why they use PVC-coated polyester, proper technical textile, not just regular outdoor fabric. And that canopy also acts almost like a sail in strong winds, adding sideways pressure and shifting balance higher up. In naval terms, that's called windage. It's something you have to account for, or the boat becomes hard to control in a strong gust. By the end of it, this isn't just a hull anymore. It's a complete floating shelter. The hull keeps it afloat. The foam adds buoyancy and rigidity. The seats make the space actually usable. And the canopy wraps it all up, protecting everyone on board from the elements. What started as a junked industrial tank is now a fully built, functional boat. A practical, lightweight platform ready for real use on the water. Recycled materials turned into something structured, stable, and genuinely seaworthy.